Welcome to Max Premieres. Streaming never stops, and 2026 arrives loaded with productions ranging from survival thrillers to crime dramas that will keep you up at night. Today we review the best that Netflix has prepared for this year, series making a strong comeback, films with stellar casts, literary adaptations that promise to define the year, and bold new bets that already generated buzz from the trailer alone. There is something for every taste, so settle in because this is very good. But before we begin, it would help me a great deal if you took a moment to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for your kind support. Number 10. People we meet on vacation. Some friendships defy all logic. Alex and Poppy met in college as complete opposites. He was orderly, routine-driven, and a homebody. She was spontaneous, impulsive, and adventure-obsessed. Even so, they became best friends and for years established a sacred tradition, a trip together every summer. Those trips were their space, their private world where everything was perfect. But something happened on their last vacation that shattered the friendship and left them not speaking for 2 years. Now Poppy proposes one last attempt, one more trip, one chance to repair what broke. What neither of them wants to admit is how they truly feel about each other. This adaptation of Emily Henry's novel arrives on Netflix, with Emily Bader and Tom Blythe leading the cast, capturing the kind of chemistry that makes you shout at the screen. The premise is solid, the tone is fresh, and the humor lands consistently well. Where we will have to wait and see is whether the execution holds up in the more emotional moments, but the early impressions are very promising. A safe bet for anyone who loves romance done right. Number 9. War Machine. What begins as a training exercise in isolated terrain quickly turns into a nightmare when soldiers start falling one by one to an unknown threat that appears in no existing military manual. An elite group faces their final test to enter the United States Army Ranger Regiment, and nobody prepared them for what they find inside. Alan Ritchson leads the cast as a soldier whose only mission is to keep his promise and get his people out alive, no matter what lurks in the absolute darkness ahead. The film blends classic military thriller with 90s-style science fiction elements and features an enemy visual design that genuinely surprises with its originality and creativity. The tension is constant, the pacing never lets up, and Ritchson once again proves he can carry an entire production on his shoulders without apparent effort. It does not reinvent the genre, but it executes it with considerable craft. This is exactly the kind of direct action Netflix needed to kick off the year strong. Number 8. One Piece: Into the Grand Line, Season 2. A young man with a straw hat, an impossible smile, and the most outlandish dream in the world to become king of the pirates. That is Monkey D. Luffy, the protagonist of this live-action adaptation of the best-selling manga in history, created by Eiichiro Oda, together with his crewmates, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, and Sanji, he sails dangerous seas filled with eccentric characters and formidable enemies that test every skill the team has. The first season proved that anime adaptations can be done right, winning over both manga fans and entirely new viewers. In this second season, the Straw Hat Pirates finally reach the Grand Line, the most dangerous and unpredictable stretch of sea in the world, where each island hides unique mysteries and every battle surpasses the last in scale and visual intensity. Iconic characters like Tony Chopper join the crew, and the technical ambition is noticeably greater than in the first installment. If Season 1 was the promise, Season 2 is the full delivery of that promise. Number 7. XO Kitty, Season 3. Arriving in Seoul convinced you are about to reunite with the love of your life, only to discover everything was far more complicated than it appeared from the outside. That is exactly what happened to Kitty Song Covey when she crossed the world looking for her pen pal boyfriend, and since that moment the series has never stopped surprising. The show became a phenomenon among young audiences thanks to its genuine charm, sharp humor, and South Korean setting. In this third and final season, Kitty returns to the Korean Independent School of Seoul for her senior year with a perfectly planned list of goals that reality, of course, will completely demolish. Her relationship with Min-ho finally reaches a defining moment that can no longer be postponed, and on top of that, Her older sister, Lara Jean, appears on screen for the very first time in the series, played by Lana Condor. The chemistry between the characters shines brighter than ever, and the emotional closing is exactly what fans have been waiting 3 seasons for. Number 6. The Chestnut Man, Season 2. A 41-year-old woman disappears without a trace. When police trace her digital footprints, they discover someone had been stalking her for months from the shadows, sending photos, videos, and a disturbing nursery rhyme that sounded completely innocent but was anything but. Copenhagen detectives Mark Hess and Naya Thulin reunite once more to unravel a case that will push them to their absolute limit. This second season of the acclaimed Danish-Nordic crime production arrives 5 years after the first, maintaining the same level of tension that earned it a 100% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes at its worldwide debut. Based on the novel by Søren Sveistrup, the same creator of The Killing, the story preserves that gray and oppressive Copenhagen atmosphere that functions as one more character in the narrative. The relationship between the two detectives is complicated and tense, adding an extra layer of depth to every shared scene. The level of suspense this Scandinavian production delivers is truly in a league of its own. Number 5. The Rip. Miami, at night. A tactical narcotics unit team enters an abandoned warehouse and finds something absolutely nobody expected: $24 million in cash hidden within the walls. The law is clear: count the money on site and do not leave until the count is done. The problem is that money belongs to the cartel, and the cartel will not take long to show up and claim it with force. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck reunite for the first time in years to play two police partners whose decades-long friendship begins to crack dangerously under the weight of temptation and mutual distrust. Director Joe Carnahan builds a perfect trap: one location, one night, and a group of people who suddenly no longer know who to trust. The chemistry between the two leads is undeniable. The pacing is completely relentless, and the twists are genuinely unpredictable, all the way to the final minute. The film was the most watched title on Netflix in its opening week and has earned every bit of its strong reviews. Number 4. Lord of the Flies. A plane crashes. A group of English boys is stranded on a deserted tropical island with no adults for miles around. At first, they try to organize with discipline. They elect a leader, establish basic rules, light a signal, fire, and wait. But as the days go by, something dark and disturbing begins to grow among them in a completely inevitable way. This is the first television adaptation of William Golding's dystopian classic, written by Jack Thorne, the same co-writer of Adolescence, and it is as unsettling and necessary as everything suggested it would be from the announcement. The 4 episodes follow different characters, allowing a deep exploration of how each of the boys either breaks or resists under group pressure and the absence of any adult authority to guide them. The cast is made up almost entirely of debut actors selected through a massive global casting call, and the authenticity they achieve is genuinely chilling to watch. The question the story raises remains as relevant today as when Golding wrote it: what are we really when nobody is watching? Number 3. Apex. A woman at her limit has spent weeks in the wild Australian interior trying to find herself after a loss that shattered her from the inside. What she does not know is that from the very moment she arrived at Wandara National Park, someone has been watching her with absolute precision. That someone is a meticulous, calculated, and completely ruthless hunter who has chosen her as his next prey in this deadly game. Charlize Theron and Taron Egerton star in this survival thriller directed by Baltasar Kormakur, the same director of Everest and Adrift, with a premise that goes far beyond the conventional cat and mouse of the genre. Theron performed most of her own action sequences on real locations in New South Wales, and that physical authenticity is felt in every single frame of the film. The movie is visually spectacular, psychologically intense, and has a third act that is not easily forgotten. This is not just pure action, it is a study of the survival instinct and of who you truly are when everything else around you disappears. Number 2. Beef, Season 2. A young, engaged couple working as low-level staff at an elite country club becomes involuntary witnesses to a brutally violent fight between their boss and his wife. That moment drags them without escape into a game of favors, coercion, and impossible loyalties revolving around the powerful club owner, Chairwoman Park. This second season of the Emmy Award-winning anthology series brings a completely new story and a cast that makes history. Oscar Isaac, Carey Mulligan, Kaylee Spaney, and Charles Melton, with Korean cinema legends Yun Ya Jung and Song Kang-ho joining the general chaos. Creator Lee Sung-jin returns with the same blend of dark humor, visceral discomfort, and completely raw emotion that made the first season a simultaneous global phenomenon with critics and audiences alike. The series shines in its ability to take a simple premise and turn it into a brutal mirror of power dynamics and the darkest side of human ego. This season competes directly with the best content on any platform in the world right now. Number 1. Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man. Birmingham, 1940. The world is at war, and Tommy Shelby has spent years hidden in self-imposed exile, broken by loss, drinking his guilt away in an empty mansion, while the ghosts of the past give him no peace. When he discovers that his son Duke is leading the Peaky Blinders back to their worst days and has fallen into a Nazi conspiracy to sink the British economy with counterfeit currency, Tommy rises one last time. Cillian Murphy returns to the role that made him a legend with an intensity that surpasses everything he showed throughout the original series, joined by Barry Keoghan, Rebecca Ferguson, Tim Roth, and Stephen Graham. The film was the most watched title on Netflix worldwide during its opening week, with 25 million views in the first 3 days, and holds a 90% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Visually flawless, emotionally brutal, and featuring a Murphy performance that ranks among the very best of his career. The farewell this saga always deserved, by order of the Peaky Blinders. And that brings us to the end of this top 10, with the best Netflix has to offer in 2026. From adrenaline-fueled action thrillers to dramas that will break your heart, this platform never stops delivering. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos. There is much more content on the way, more rankings, more platforms, more series and films, so you always have something great to watch. See you in the next video.